Did you worry about not being able to handle your mother-in-law as soon as you saw how she was? And how did you manage when she comes to stay for like a month or so in your home? I am so happy we have each other here to talk about our mills from hell. I was just wondering as I read so many stories on this subreddit of how awful mills are to most of you who have been married for so many years. I'm engaged, and I was wondering how did you manage, because I honestly feel a lot of anxiety when I think about my future and how the mill will try to create a wedge between me and my future husband. I'm currently low contact with her and recently she sent me a message. Again, I've been avoiding her like the devil. LOL. Sometimes I worry if I will be able to handle her. One of my friends who is married for 6 years and has 2 kids said to me that I need to handle her. BC if is not her, it will be another mill. I guess I was wondering how did you ladies manage. BC sometimes I think I can't do this. BC of her. And another friend said if you already feel this way about her as she lives far away and is the beginning, once you get married it will only get worse. And yes, she plays the nice loving mom card, my family is close yada yada, and I guess for me it was easy to spot some things, plus she did things too, so I just want to keep my distance, and I guess that makes me the bad guy in the story as I want boundaries with her. The thought of being married and her staying at our home for 5 or 6 weeks, since she lives far away, makes me super anxious. How did you manage that too? Thank you to all the ladies here who struggle with their mills. P.S. I would also appreciate if you ladies could tell me how you managed in the beginning when you found out how your mills were. BC I assume some might have done therapy or developed tactics. I am talking the early beginning. BC I guess some of you were able to set boundaries early on, others were naive, like I was in the first months, and only set boundaries later on. Not to mention the years some of you had to endure. Also not all of you might have been able to go no contact, some might done low contact only, and some can't cut them completely. Plus I bet it was a long road until some had the husband to see who their mom were, even though they did stand up for us early on. Comment. My first thought was what kind of fresh hell have I just stepped into, but then thinking I could handle it because I'm in mental health. Nope. Ended up in therapy to deal with the nonsense. It was / is all the females in my DH's family. It's the strongest generational abuse cycle I've ever witnessed. NC was the only way to go after everything. Sit your fiancé down now and have an honest conversation about the future relationship he expects to have with her. How often can she visit? Can she stay in a hotel? Relationship with kids. What can you expect from him regarding supporting you during disagreements? Where will she live when old? Let him know you are having serious concerns about how she could affect your future relationship with him, and knowing where he stands and his expectations is the only way you can feel secure and comfortable marrying him. You write somewhere that he will choose his mother's side over you. Marriage means you leave your parents' family to start a new family with your partner. It doesn't mean you have to cut all ties with your old family, but it does mean your new, chosen family, and its members, comes first. If he puts his mother before you, he does not respect you enough, and you should not marry him. You can tell him that you should be his priority and ask him how he is gonna handle his mother. Like her visiting and not staying in a hotel, and by that chasing you out of your home to your workplace instead of working from home. How is that not breaking his wedding vows to you, to put you first? Good luck with this. I think you need to make your boundaries very clear now, before you marry him, or your marriage will not be as great as it can be. This will not end well. It's going to be a shit show and it will come to a head. If I was you, I would have some kind of arrangements made. Because if you need to get out of there, it would be better to have them things arranged ahead of time. 6 weeks is inappropriate, intrusive and rude. I don't care if she lives 3 planets away. She don't need to stay that long. And yeah, she was coming to your house and she will invade your privacy. So now that you know, how are you gonna handle this? Next story 2. Mill treats my husband and I like little kids. So my husband and I live in a different city than his parents. We spend weekends with my in-laws from time to time and this can get pretty frustrating. My Phil is just a kind and peaceful man who tries not to intervene with our lives too much, but Mill is the complete opposite. I don't like the way she treats my husband and his father at all. Every time we are there she bosses them around, ordering my husband to clean and tidy not only the guest room but the rest of the house as well. She even makes him clean up her mess. My husband and I also have friends that live near his parents, so we want to visit them sometimes, which is always a struggle. She always seems upset if we go to hang out with them, even if it's just for a couple of hours, and gets very agitated if we decide to have a few drinks with them. She acts as if we are a bunch of alcoholics, while my husband and I only drink on some weekends and work really hard during the week. For example, I chugged a glass of water the other day and she made a comment about how I must have imagined it was a beer. It's little comments like that, mostly aimed at me for some reason, that drive me insane. She also used to comment about my body and eating habits a lot, and still does from time to time. I am recovering from an eating disorder and she knows this. Furthermore, she got kind of mad at my husband and I for booking our vacation without consulting her first, because maybe she wanted her son to come with her. Other than that, she tries to control my husband's finances and acts as if I throw away all his money. If we spend a lot of money on something, like the vacation I mentioned, she just assumes that it was all my idea and that I made my husband spend his hard-earned money. One other weird thing that just came to mind: she is obsessed with our sex life as well as that of her other son and his girlfriend. Every time we go upstairs she has to make a comment about us probably going there to have sex. Last time I was there she knocked on my BIL's, who still lives with them, bedroom door while he was in there with his GF, and when he told her to come in she said something along the lines of, "I was just checking if you were having sex." They were studying. Another time she just burst in while my husband and I were sleeping, and one time while we were showering. I am so glad that my husband sees the same things I see and always stands up for me if she says anything inappropriate. I just wish he would stick up for himself a bit more. After our last visit I decided to let some time pass before I go there again, because I just don't want to deal with her. My husband was very understanding because she really went too far with her demands and nasty comments that time. I am glad he agrees, but I also don't want to come between him and his mother. Comment: stop staying at her house. Really? Stay at one of your friends' places or a hotel. Just invite them to a meal or two for a weekend. Plan something with BIL and his GF and then something with the pill. Just don't stay there. It's time you gave the talk. Well, I was gonna say your husband should with his parents, but you and him should have one first about all this, and then he goes to them to tell them what's up. Your Mill is treating DH as if he were still a teenager, living rent-free in her house with his girlfriend. Mothers make their teens clear up messes as their contribution to the household. Fine. You two are adult guests. Don't stay with them. Tell her why, you'd rather pay in cash than insults. When she bleats about home, point out it's her home, not yours, not DH's. You want to visit and vacay. Put her on an info diet. Be ready to say that doesn't concern you. Repeat it in a voice that's slightly bored. When she makes her weird comments about drinking and sex, ask her what she means by that. Keep going. Determine whether she understands married couples have sex, it's in the vows, for trad plus en weddings, with my body, I thee worship. You and your husband are adults. You are entitled to respect as adults. Your Mill continues to treat you like children. Stop responding like children. An adult response would be to tell her, "Mom, you are treating us like children, and we are adults. Your language and behavior are inappropriate. We will no longer be staying here until you can respect us as the adults that we are." And then you stop staying there. She will kick up a fuss because in her mind you are being disobedient children. Let her kick up a fuss, she has no power over you or your husband. You and your husband can visit your friends and crash at their place. You and your husband need to be doing couple things, creating new traditions, activities, etc. Stop spending so much time going to visit the ILS, they are the past, you and your husband need to be working on your present and your future. Next story 3. Mill problem or husband problem. I have been with my husband for 20 plus years. His mother has always been a terror, but lately, I'm just over it. Divorce is looking like an option at this point, but I can't help but wonder if she is the bigger problem, or is he. Mill constantly does things we have asked her not to do. If our children are visiting her, she will feed them candy and fried foods for supper, and let them eat unending amounts of snacks. They drink Cokes to no end, etc. I'm not a prude with my kids' nutrition, but I don't let them have a free-for-all diet either. I've repeatedly told her to stop, yet she still does it. Husband just laughs it off. She invites herself over all the time, and in the past has even brought other people with her. She plans cookouts at our house and then tells us. She has asked to borrow money, yet has a bad online shopping habit. She will pull up and just tell our kids to get in, never asking us. My husband shrugs his shoulders at all of this, and I get the "she's old, it's no big deal" excuse. She also has a bad habit of telling people how exhausted she is from watching our kids, yet she is the one that gets them. She also has my husband believing that she is physically incapable of doing anything, yet she has no issue going on shopping trips 45 plus minutes away from the house. He does everything for her, everything. She won't even attempt to change a light bulb in a lamp, just immediately calls him and gets whiny like a child if he can't come do it for her at that exact moment. My husband is an only child and it's like he doesn't have the ability to tell her, no, but bet your tail he has no issue telling me. I know he sees all of this. She is the one thing that we constantly argue about. I would never tell someone they had to choose between me and their mom, so I'm just at the point of removing myself from the equation. Am I being overdramatic here? Comment. My mill is similar, and I asked for a divorce this past year after 13 years of marriage. I had reached my breaking point, was tired of the entitlement to our lives and the overstepping and undermining from mill. My husband was no better, always had an excuse for his mom, or blew off her behavior, or blamed me for not being flexible enough. And he had no problem letting me be seen as the bad guy on the few occasions I dared to set boundaries for the kids and I. Our marriage was crumbling because of it all. He ended up not wanting a divorce, so he started therapy. Turns out he is enmeshed with his mom. On his own he decided to cut contact with her. It's only been about 6 months, but things with us are greatly improved and life in general is so peaceful without her antics. I think that therapy is worth a shot, but staying in a situation like that is so mentally draining and toxic and unhealthy, and if you want to leave no one will blame you. Have you ever just said no? If you are leaving anyway, why not go out with a bang and start calling her on her crap? She brings people over without telling you, tell her in front of them that this is not a good time and she should have called. She gives the kids things you don't want them to have. Tell the kids there is a limit, and when it is reached, take it from them and give it back to her and tell her no more. She comes to pick them up and doesn't tell you. Tell her she has to let you know. When she doesn't, they in the car and follow her and take the kids back. Better yet, tell them they can't go unless they let you know. All of this will cause major drama, but it will set down once you separate. This will also let her know that you will have boundaries if she wants to see them. So, how do you like being a sister wife? Because your husband is treating his mother like his wife. I mean, running over to change a light bulb in a lamp. If the woman can go shopping without assistance, she can change a damn light bulb. She's also getting the kids whenever she feels like. If your kids are old enough to know better than to jump in a car without your permission, then you need to set some rules for your kids. And consequences for breaking those rules. How bad does all this bother you? It would be a deal breaker for me. I think you need to decide if you can tolerate this for unknown years more, or if you must put an end to being the second wife. But, yeah, this is more a husband problem than a mill problem, because it's his responsibility to support you and keep her in check. he's supporting her and discounting your feelings.